My name is Shannon Patterson, and I met Julie through Andy Yost, who some of you might know. Keep forgetting his role. He's the head of what, Julie?
Oh, he's the Rocky Mountain liaison for the Capacity Building Center for Courts, the CBCC. And the Center for Courts provides technical assistance to court improvement programs.
So I'm on a project with Andy, and Andy suggested that I facilitate and help support you all in getting this community of practice established. And so it's my honor. This is not my area of expertise. I'm a facilitator and leadership development person and org consultant. So just really an honor to be supporting you. And here's what we'll be doing, just to give an overview of the meetings. If you're new, just let you know where you're finding us in the journey. The COP started in October of 2023, and we'll hear more about that in just a couple of minutes. We met in October and December, and here we are in 2024 on February 22nd. So this is just meeting 3. And we have a couple more planned already for April and June, and then we're unsure if we're going to take a summer break. We'll talk about that in our April meeting. As I've had the pleasure of working with people in the design meeting, learning that this is a great experience for people to be coming together. And there's also, I think for many, I've heard just some impatience to let's roll up our sleeves and do some things. So hang in. We're kind of in the community formation period of getting things sorted in terms of purpose and norms and what are we doing here and who should be here and what's important to this community. So that'll be a lot of our April conversation, actually. So for today, we will talk about the COP and how it came to be, just so new people coming in can get oriented to the group so far. We'll do a quick check-in on understanding who's here and not here, just to always get a sense of that. It helps who's in our community. One part of this community purpose is to help strengthen relationships and connections so that you can support each other and go to each other outside of this. So it's good to understand who's here. And then there could be some really important voices and perspectives and experience in people that are not here. So this gives us a chance to understand who we might want to invite. We want to give you a chance in the name of connection to have a connecting conversation with a handful of people. We'll spend 15 minutes or so doing that. And then Kyle will speak with us, share her story, have some Q&A, and we'll do a call for design team. We ask 4 to 5 people just to make a one-time commitment for 1 hour to come in and help us think about what we're going to do in April and how do we structure it. I found it just incredibly helpful. And then we'll do a quick eval and check out. So that's our plan for the day. And so with that, Carrera, I know you're here and would just love to hear from you a little bit about the story of the COP and your experience with it. So if you're feeling ready, over to you.
Thank you. So hi everybody. My name is Carrera Pretty Paint. I am an enrolled member of the Crow tribe. I used to work for my tribe. But I currently work at the Billings Urban Indian Health and Wellness Center as the engagement coordinator for a SAMHSA-funded youth suicide prevention program called Standing Buffalo Strong and Billings Native Connections. I just want to thank you all for being here, taking the time to be here. And like they said, I just wanted to share a little bit about the COP and how it got started. So it's very new. It started, like Shannon said, in October of 2023. We're still forming it, which is exciting because, everyone here can help shape this group. So previously there had been like a group of us who had kind of got together and talked about ICWA and how we can all kind of like work together to better serve the American Indian population. We talked about hosting a conference like the one that CSKT had in the past. I've never been to that one, but I've heard a lot about it, and just how it was great and how it brought ICWA stakeholders together face to face to have conversations and build relationships. We just couldn't get that going. So that's when CIP asked Andy Yost, who is of the Capacity Building Center for Courts, to help us. So he had introduced us to the community of practice. And that's when we had launched this project this past October. So just kind of a little backstory, like in my previous role with the department, I was the ICWA program specialist. So I had worked closely with tribes throughout Montana. And I was able to see the overrepresentation of American Indian and Alaska Native children in the child welfare system nationwide. But in Montana, the rate is even higher. So this initial group that we had, that when we talked about it, we just wanted to include as many people as possible to who worked in and are impacted by Montana's child welfare system in ICWA, such as like tribal representatives, the Child and Family Services Division staff, the county ICWA attorneys,
We're done. Are you trying to get a book?
I'll mute her.
and other community partners. And so the Montana ICWA community of practice was born. So as you know, we are currently refining our purpose statement, but generally our purpose is to improve meaningful collaboration among Montana ICWA legal, social work, and tribal partners to maintain Indian families. So in my role at the department, one of my goals, I had one goal that I had set when I first got that position, and I just wanted to bring all the tribes together just to kind of have a conversation, just to talk. And also there was tribal members that were also new to ICWA, and they just wanted to learn from other tribes, like how they're kind of doing their cases, how they're running their programs. So I got a lot of support from the tribes. Like they were super excited to get this going. But I just felt like I didn't have enough support on like the state side. I couldn't get it going myself. So that's when Julie had approached me with the ICWA COP, and I was very excited about it. So I had reached out to all the tribes again about the COP and, wanted them to just be active, to just attend. And I felt like they were all pretty excited about it. And I kind of got everyone going, but I had left that role, so I was pretty sad that I couldn't, keep that connection with them, try to keep them engaged. And not just the ICWA workers, but also like the qualified expert witnesses for tribes, because I got a lot of phone calls with that as well. But I know some are still attending. Saw some. I see Myron. Thank you, Myron, for being here. So there's some that attend in some way. And then just kind of one thing I wanted to share was just that the COP is not a working committee. Rather, it is a time to just build relationships across our community, share information, and just to learn so that we can figure out how to address I can never say this word, disproportionality of American Indian children in Montana's child welfare system. So just a little story, I had the last COP that I had attended, I was in a group, and I felt like that conversation just went good just because we didn't talk about the like the mission statement. Like we didn't really talk about that at all. It was I think it was Mina who was a QEW, and then I think it was I don't know if it was an attorney or somebody from the Butte office. They had talked and they were like, Mina was like, yeah, I think she said my nephew had been removed and it was in Butte, and nobody ever got in touch with me. So then, they were going back and forth, like, how can we work together? How can we, reach out to more families? Like they just came up with like a plan right there. And I was like, so excited. I was like, yes, this is what, I wanted. This is the communication, the relationship building. So I thought that was pretty exciting in the last COP. We didn't go over what we were supposed to, but we had a good conversation in that one. So I'm just gonna end it here, and thank you everybody for being here. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, thank you, Carrera. We can just take a moment and see if there are any questions. Might not be able to address them right in this moment, but if you have questions in the top of your mind, please put them in the chat or raise your hand, come off mute. that is such a great story, Carrera. I think that's exactly the hope, right? I don't care if you follow my instructions. What I really want you to do is have the conversations that serve you. So that's perfectly all right. Great. Okay, so that's a little bit about the community of practice and how it came to be. And so let's now do a little bit of understanding who's here and not here. We are going to try another bit of technology. I know some of the advice has been keep it tech light, keep it tech light. So forgive me for continuing to try. The desire is to make things visual as much as we can and kind of get that real-time feedback of who's here. So we're going to try one other thing at this point, and it's a tool called Menti. I'm going to drop the tool in the chat for you. Then I'm also, and if you follow the link, which is in the chat now, right? Okay, so if you follow the link to the chat, you can participate on your computer. And if you're good at switching between tabs, this is for you. If you are not so good at doing that, oh, I was going to give him the QR code. Kevin, can you take your screen down for just a second?
Here. I put the link in the chat too, so if they want to just click on that link, that'll work too.
Okay, well, cool. Let's just do that then. So click on the link in the chat. I was also going to give you the option of if you wanted to do this on your phone, if switching between tabs is not your thing, then you can hold up your phone to the QR code and it'll take you to a link. It'll ask you to put in a code and then it'll allow you to participate from your phone. So you can experiment with that. And I already see people coming in. Don't forget to hit submit. There's a submit button that completely escapes me every time I take Menti. So you can indicate what county you're from. And I believe we have the reservations on there now. So please share where you are. You can just get a sense of what kind of representation we have from across the state and play with all the little buttons. You can do the thumbs up. That means that you got it and you understand it. We can see how many people have completed the survey in the bottom corner. There's 15. We have 31 participants, so we'll give people a couple moments to get oriented. You can leave a comment feature. We're playing around with that as well. So you can see how we like this. It seems like it's been fairly easy. If you're sitting there by yourself cursing our name and it's not easy, could you put that in the chat that this is not easy? So that we have a sense of everybody's experience in the room besides those just that are taking the survey. Hi, Kyle. It's so nice to have you here. We're gonna just do a couple of things. Really appreciate you joining us and being willing to share your story and experience. Do you want to just come off mute and say hi for just a moment so we hear your voice?
I think you're still muted, Kyle.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone. I am so glad to be here. It's an honor, and I look forward to chatting with you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Thanks for making the time. All right. So, and if you can't make this, thing work, you can drop in the chat where you are coming in from, just like Manon did. Thank you. All right. What are we noticing here? What are we noticing about who's here and not here? Feel free to come off mute. I'm not sure I see folks from reservations here. I get curious about that. Thanks, Kirsta, for letting us know you can't get the map to work. Sorry about that. That's frustrating. Seems like the corners of the state Missing representation
Yeah.
here. What else? Okay, well, use your connections to get more people here. Do we have folks from Blackfeet? Yeah, if you are here from Blackfeet, and you feel like letting us know, great. And this is participate as you would
Julie.
like.
This is Julie. I don't think we do because I only have the name of one person.
Mm,
And I always email her her invites, but I don't have any other contacts.
okay,
If somebody does, I would love to have them.
great. Okay, and we'll have this slide information after this. Thanks, Kelly. It's always good to know the context, right, that we're in. So busy court day today and the 9th. So we have folks off doing work. Okay. All right, Kevin, let's go to the next one. And this next slide is just helping us get a sense of roles and identities that are here. So what's going to make for a powerful community of practice. This one has a long list, so the submit button is way down there at the bottom. So once you click your role, and you can click more than one role. So once you click your selections, just scroll to the bottom and hit submit. And again, if technology is vexing, then please just drop your role identity in the chat. And then Kevin, I'm not sure, I don't think you have to refresh your screen. I don't know, it should just be responding. There we go. People just taking a moment to think through
Yeah, it's
things.
responding on my side, so.
Great. And I don't remember folks who are not finding a place here and are needing to use the other category. Please feel free to chime in on the chat on the role and identity. Thank you. Thanks, Kelly. For public defender. Okay, it just helps us know how to keep sharing this or doing this better.
I don't know what I'm doing.
And if you got lost in the technology, I think you have to, you may have to move ahead in the slides. I can't remember if it goes automatically or if you needed to say, skip to the next question. Those of you that are participating, if you are able to say your experience for making it work, that's always helpful too. Casa. Thanks, John. All right, what are we noticing here? Don't be afraid to say the obvious.
No tribal attorneys. So if anyone has names and email addresses, please send them to me and I can send them like an email and I created like a 1-page description of what the COP is that I can send as an attachment to invite people to participate.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Kyle, for naming lived experience, consultant or otherwise. And what's important here, right, is going back to the purpose of the COP as Carrera, we're working together to, maintain, preserve, empower Indian families and address the disproportionality in the system of Indian children. And so thinking about whose voices and whose perspectives, whose experience do we need here together to be able to make meaningful progress on that together. Right, so just food for thought. Okay, last call for any comments, things you're noticing. Okay. All right. 24 out of 31, and I know I didn't and a couple people, so that seems pretty good. How was this technology? Does it seem okay? Thumbs up? Yes, no? Love to get your feedback in the chat. 5, I loved it. 1, I hated it. That would be helpful just to know because we might use it again. Okay, thanks everybody. All right, enough of me talking. Let's get you all talking. So we are going to move to the connecting conversation. So let's see here. So that was our opportunity to learn who's here and not here. Let's see here, don't do that. You do this. And before we go to the connecting conversation, I'll just ground us in this. It can be helpful to read. Carrera mentioned it. But a couple meetings ago, we worked on the purpose statement and talking about, why does this community exist? And we have a lot of great work and revisions. We're going to come back to those in April so that we can adopt one that represents the conversation that had happened. And then we will also talk about what the COP needs to learn and discuss. So if we're not a working committee and the power of the ability to make change is through relationship, meaningful collaboration, and getting these connections, we also want to think about what do you all want to learn and discuss together to make progress towards this purpose, right? And being able to improve things. So I want to give you a chance to talk about that together for 15 minutes. We did some quicker rounds of conversation in the past and people are like, meh. So we'll give you a whole 15 minutes to have some time with about 4 other people. And so in the breakout room, to briefly introduce yourself and how you're connected to this work or situations regarding ICWA. And then just to kick around some ideas together on what do you believe this COP needs to discuss and or learn about together to better preserve and support Indian families. Okay, so you'll be put in breakout rooms. Don't go yet, Kevin, for 15 minutes to talk about these 2 things and just want to see if there's any questions. Got some feedback that my instructions needed to be clearer. So I just want to get you oriented here. Any questions about what you'll be doing and talking about? And I do mean it. If you also want to ignore this and talk about something else in your room, go right ahead. How are the breakout rooms, Kevin? Are they ready to go?
Ready to go.
Great. Okay, hold on one second. I think the chat should go with you all. Let me just give you that question so that you have it.
There'll be a couple rooms that have 5 in, but that's okay.
Okay, the more the merrier, I think is what we want to go with here. All right. You don't have to take notes. We're not going to do a report out on the other side of this. I'll have you drop ideas in chat. So just enjoy your conversations together. There's the question in chat. So hopefully chat goes with you and we have our settings right. And off you go. Enjoy your conversations.
Myron, you want me to throw you in a room? I didn't plan on putting you in a room, but it worked out, so, sorry. All right. Hi, Heidi. They're just in breakout rooms right now. They should be done in about 3 minutes. Shannon, sorry
Okay.
for throwing you in a room.
No, that's fine. It was helpful.
And,
Welcome, Heidi.
I was just setting up my broadcast message and I wanted to skip a line, and that's when I sent out the 1 minute reminder. So sorry about that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
It's okay. Yeah, I noticed we didn't have the timer set on the room, so people don't know.
I'll send them a broadcast here. They still got 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Did you guys have a good conversation?
Yeah, I was just listening in. Yeah, but they were starting to get into it,
Good.
into some good ideas. Did you share with Heidi what folks are talking about?
I did not.
Okay. Heidi, we have folks finishing up a breakout room conversation, just thinking about what do people think that the COP, what should we discuss here? What needs to be learned about together to better preserve and support Indian families? So when they get back, we'll do a quick chat harvest of what people have been talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
sorry
welcome.
I'm coming late. I joined as soon as I got back to my car after court.
Yeah, don't worry. That's what we learned. Someone said it's heavy court day today in 9th District.
Yeah. Yeah, and the 13th as well.
Oh, on the 13th, yeah. Is that tend to be Thursdays? Did we happen to put this on a heavy court day?
It's hit and miss. It's
Okay.
pretty random. Today happens to be really heavy because I think the judges conference, or there was a training, so everything kind of got loaded for 2 judges today, and then there just happened to be a string of removals over the weekend. So there's like 6 EPS hearings today, which is crazy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, a lot happening.
Yeah. So
Thanks for
just
letting
it's a
us
perfect
know.
storm kind of thing.
And
Yeah.
Yellowstone's not a good one to compare because they're so much bigger than everywhere else in the state. I mean, they're going to always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Heidi, maybe Kevin knows this because he knows you, but just we want to be sure at our meetings to kind of capture what counties people are from, or cities or reservations. If you wouldn't mind putting any of that in the chat.
Oh, sure.
That just kind of helps us track
Yeah,
participation.
I kind of have a long list, so
Go for it. That's great.
okay. Thanks. Okay.
Okay, I gave him a 1 minute reminder, so.
Okay. I think since we're running a little bit behind, Kevin, what I'm going to do is put up the screen with the question on it and just ask people to pop their things in chat. And if we can just be sure we save the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, it's recording, so we should be.
Okay.
At least that's what it tells me. It says recording is on.
It does say that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, and I can save the chat too. Okay.
All right, I can close.
Is it okay if I list my roles and jurisdictions just in a note to you, Kevin? Is that okay?
Yeah, just set it into the chat's fine if you don't
To
mind.
everybody?
Yeah, you
Okay.
don't, unless you don't want to. If you want to just send it to me, I can get it over to Shannon, or just send it to Shannon only if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Whatever
Okay,
makes you comfortable.
thanks.
Everyone, there's a long list of everybody's stuff in the chat through people introducing them, so you wouldn't be
Yeah.
alone. And do whatever makes you comfortable.
Just an FYI, I'm closing the
Okay.
rooms, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Raise your hand if you were ripped out of your room mid-sentence. So hopefully that's a good sign. And I'd love just a quick in the chat. How was it to have 15 minutes? How was it to have 15 minutes? 5, it was great. 1, it was too long. 5, it was great. And 1, it was too long. So if you could just pop that in the chat just as a way to help me as a facilitator and for the design team to know what's working for y'all. In the breakout room I was in, it seemed to be a good amount of time. It took a while to kind of get going, and then things really started talking. So just by way of capture, so we're not going to do report out because I want to get us over to Kyle. So Kyle, this is like your 2-minute warning here for you to get settled. Is just to share by way of chat, or you can come off mute, is to answer the question. So what do you believe the COP needs to discuss and or learn about together? So to drop in the chat your summary of what you talked about or things that are on your mind, and it can be something that represented the whole conversation that you were in, or just something that's on your mind now that you've had that conversation. So we're not trying to reach consensus, but just bearing in mind what you heard. So give you a moment to formulate your thoughts, and don't worry if you're not, it doesn't have to be totally articulate and all that. So kind of half-baked first thoughts, welcome.
Well, I'll go for our group
Thanks, Michaela.
real quick. So I was in breakout room 4 with Grace and Mike and Shannon, and we talked about how working with tribes could be kind of difficult, just due to some political things, and working relationships can change, positions can change, and that can really affect how programs react with individuals. So we talked about how we could better serve foster families, parents, and children. And so we kind of played with the idea of connecting foster families with cultural competency training, pairing them with maybe a Native family for mentoring. And we weren't exactly sure how foster families are trained when they are getting licensed, and if they're going to take ICWA children, should they be getting some training around serving ICWA families. And we know that not everybody is going to want to participate and do those with those children, but can we encourage that by maybe creating a treatment plan or including that in the treatment plan with the CPS workers on including these services for the family. We are kind of playing with those ideas.
Yeah, thanks, Michaela. And I would love to hear from someone else. And I'm going to move us on because we're a little bit behind, and I want to make sure Kyle has the time since she's here with us. So Julie, if you'd like to introduce Kyle, and then there we go.
Okay, thank you. I'm Julie Burke, the CIP coordinator, and thank you, Kyle, for agreeing to talk to us. Kyle and I met each other in person in October at the Casey Family Programs race equity convening, and we were part of the Montana team. So thank you, Kyle. So
yeah,
Kyle sent me a bio, and I'm just gonna read a little bit from it, if that's okay, just to kind of set the stage. But I think for me, Kyle's life experience proves that anything is possible. She said she grew up in an abusive, dysfunctional, and poor family, was sexually abused by her stepfather from ages 8 to 12, and was placed in foster care from ages 13 to 15. she had her first daughter when she was 16 and was in an abusive relationship with the father of her 3 daughters. And if you don't mind, Kyle, I'm just going to read a little bit of what you wrote to me about
Okay.
addiction. And she said, having wasted 20 years in my addiction, I had countless missed opportunities, the greatest of which was being the mother my children deserved. I used drugs as a coping mechanism, and soon drugs became the only thing that mattered in my life. It was an empty, lifeless shell of I was an empty, lifeless shell of a very dangerous woman. Dangerous because I did not care who I hurt or what I had to do to get what I needed. I was in and out of jail and have had many criminal charges, warrants, and fines. But despite all of the life experiences I've been through, I embrace the fact that from my pain, I can use it to help others. If I can get sober, anyone can get sober. And I want that light that gives hope to those still suffering in addiction. Kyle had her last baby removed at birth because he tested positive for meth. And she said it was at that point that she decided she wanted to be the mother that she knew she could be. And she joined the Yellowstone County ICWA Family Recovery Court in 2001. And as their first graduate in 2023, received an ambassador award. And to graduate from the ICWA Family Recovery Court, District Court Judge Souza said Kyle spent 638 days in the courtroom, completed more than 400 hours of treatment, 56 court hearings, 180 self-help meetings, and had 344 drug tests. And currently, Kyle is employed as a patient access specialist for the Billings Urban Indian Health and Wellness Center, and she's working on her peer support certification. She has a degree in business management from Chief John Life College and is a member of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe. And she has many other accomplishments. But today we've asked her to share what she believes is important about her experiences so that we can gain a better understanding of what would make a difference in how we do our work and how we can improve our work. So thank you, Kyle, for being willing to talk to us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to be here. My experience in being part of the system, and it was really scary back then. But there's a lot of advances and improvements that have been made. Recently I had my little cousins in foster care, and they still are, and being able to video chat with them and them seeing the family, it really keeps that connection, I think. And I don't know how many of the families or how many places do allow that, but here in Billings, that's where they're placed, and just having that connection to be able to do that with them. I also have a nephew out in South Dakota that is in foster care, and he's able to video chat us, not as much as my little girl cousins, but that I think is important in keeping that connection. And also, I really like what Michaela said about, training, the training of the foster parents in culturally areas, so that, it's not such a culture shock for the kids when they get placed with them. Because when I got placed, I just got taken from my family and just put in Billings, and it was such a culture shock. And luckily I had therapies in place, and I think those are important to have therapies in place for the kids, regular therapy, cultural activities. So I'm pretty excited about the Billings Urban Indian Health and Wellness Center. Their suicide prevention, they do a lot of activities with the kids, and I think if they had more like involvement from the kids in the system, that would be great. Or maybe an activity just for them, that would be great. And also my peer support, I not only want to be like a peer support for like addiction, also for as being a lived consultant of the welfare system. I would like to peer support, you know, the families. If we could get more of those too. More lived experience consultants. I know, you know, there is another guy that named Chase that went to the Casey family convening with us, and you know, it was just amazing. And there was a few of them from other states, and it was just amazing to have that lived consultant experience, to see both sides, you know, from our side, having lived it, and to see the sides of the attorneys and the CPS workers, you know, and it just brought a greater understanding. It was that convening was so amazing. Um, Maybe having some convenings like that of our own would be good. But you know, I'm just here. I want to share my experience with, you know, other parents who are going through the system, and to help them navigate, and, you know, just be that support for them.
Thanks, Kyle. Would you like questions now from folks?
Sure.
Yeah, I think people are getting their thoughts together. We have one from Michaela. Do you want to come off mute, Michaela, and ask your own question? I don't need to do that.
Yeah, my question is what was the hardest part? I know with ICWA you get lots of support and wraparound services, and so that wasn't my specific question, but if you were on a traditional track CPS case, what was like the hardest part navigating through that system?
I think the hardest part was there was no supports, like for my grandmother or my mom, trying to, you know, get the support they needed, or the help they needed in order to get me back in their care. There was no support system. They didn't know what they were doing or where they were going, and there was no help from the actual CPS department, really. Just telling them you need to do this, that, and not showing them the resources. There was no resources, and it was super hard, and very traumatic, I think.
And then from the time that case was open to now, when you had your son and you were kind of getting through the system, do you feel like that has changed, or do you feel like you were kind of lost before you kind of got into ICWA court?
I was lost before I got into ICWA court, but my first initial CPS worker that came to the hospital, she just showed so much compassion and made me feel like I mattered, and like my opinion mattered of where I wanted my son to be placed, which was with my mom. And that you know, just changed everything. The way my whole outlook on authority, CPS workers, all of that, I was just like, wow, that just intrigued me. And I was like, I want to work with this person, you know, I want to do this. And then also the other, my next caseworker, she actually told me about the ICWA court, and that I should, you know, observe it. So I did, and, you know, and just that support and getting me there, and me seeing the judge and everybody, the whole team that just cared for the children, and the person that, you know, the parent was very important, and they were celebrating their successes. And I was, you know, I was one right there. I was like, I want to be a part of that. So it's amazing support and everything with the ICWA court. I love that court, and I love being a part of it still.
Thanks,
Kyle,
Kyle.
I have a question for you. When you were removed as a child, were you reunited with your mom, or did you go through a termination? And
I was reunited with my mother. It took 1.5 years.
okay, all right. I just
Yeah.
wondered if sometimes things progress to a termination, but then I was just curious what your contact, you clearly have contact with your mom and your grandma now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, I was fortunate. She worked hard and was able to jump through the hoops and do what was asked of her to get me back in her care. Yeah.
So you say jump through the hoops, I guess. Do you at the time or now or looking back, did she need to do things that you don't think she needed to do? Like, were they hoops or were they things she really needed to do, or a combination of that?
It was kind of tricky because I think the tribally requirements are a little different, and it was different because she was still married to my stepdad who abused me, and he went to prison. So there was some things that, you know, I think were, I don't think I should have went back to her.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what she really had to do. We had never talked about it, but you know, I don't think I should have went back to her because I went back to the same house of where everything happened. So I was not protected in that situation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Kyle, in my breakout group, we talked about how some of us just have like a surface level understanding of what it's like to be culturally competent. But not anything more in depth. And would you have any suggestions about, I guess, maybe what kind of training or conversations that we could have with tribal members or people to deepen our knowledge so that Native American families feel safe talking with non-Native American people in the system?
I think it would be helpful, like, to have a liaison. That's a tough one. We need to have like more meetings with and trainings with just coming together and speaking together, I think would help a lot. So if we can get some more meetings together just to go over things like the ones here, they're pretty amazing. Yeah. But in a different aspect with like the lived consultant experiences. And yeah. 'Cause I think we have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge of, you know, and to talking with like the other side, the convening that just was great. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish we had more of those.
I was gonna follow up to just everybody, because I think Kyle and I, and then the man that she mentioned, who
Chase.
was Chase
Chase
Pearl.
Peru. Yeah.
And we all agreed when we were in Nashville, like, wouldn't it would be great to have something like this in Montana? But is anyone else out there in the audience aware of any opportunities where tribal and state attorneys and judges and CPS workers and CASAs and lived experience consultants and people like that where we can gather just to talk? Like I don't even know what's out there, what exists. And when we were in Nashville, we were wondering that too. Because then we started thinking, like Kyle said, about maybe creating something similar to what the Casey family programs did, but in Montana. Does anyone know out there? And I don't mean to put anyone on the spot. I'm just curious.
Really, one of the things that I could add, so I mean, this is going back a few years, but there was I mean, I think it's far back. I mean, I can remember, you know, I've been a regional administrator for 25 years, and back then, I mean, we would have ICWA conferences annually. So, and actually, we worked with the tribes, and a different tribe would sponsor.
Oh,
Wow.
You know, take responsibility for you know, finding the location, sending out the notices, and you know, just all the organization of bringing a conference together. mean, I think that there were key people missing. There were people from their foster families. There were people from Child Family Services. There were Tribal Social Services. I don't know that the BI ever attended, but so that is something that we have done in the past.
How long ago was that?
I'm just guessing. And my memory's failing because of my age, but I would say it's it's probably been 10 years, maybe 5 years since we've last done that.
Yeah, thanks, Eric, for raising that. I see a question from Shameen in the chat. Before it's about Shameen. Do you want to ask your question here? And it might be a question to everybody or just to Kyle, if you could let us know.
Yeah, I was curious about what your peer support certification was about. How does that work?
Well, I believe it's like a kind of a behavioral health kind of support. So it goes into like support for all kinds of areas. It's a pretty broad spectrum, but mostly for the addiction part of my experience.
Okay.
Which is why I wanted to use it as a mentor for the families going through CPS too. And so it might like come with, some of them might, because of the addiction, it'll kind of all coincide. So I'm really excited about that.
I think that more peer supports in our area would be beneficial for these families.
Yes.
Yeah.
Michaela.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't really
you had
have
your hand up. Did you have a question?
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I just shared in the chat the board certification for peer support. And they are I believe
thank you.
very excitingly making a family peer support position through the Board of Behavioral Health for this exact situation. I think and this is for maybe the next meeting. But the problem with this is because we can only bill for this in a treatment facility, how do you correlate these kind of pieces with individuals? Luckily, if they're working with treatment, they can get a family support person where this is going to be a topic for another thing. It's also the pay rate for peer supports are like nothing. So getting programs to implement family support specialists, I think is going to be very difficult. The encounter rate is just very, very low.
Thanks, Michaela, for highlighting that. Did you want to respond to that, Kyle, or Julie has a question too? What would you like?
Julie's question.
Okay. I wanted to know, Kyle, what was it about, because what was it about the ICWA Family Recovery Court that made you keep wanting to continue to participate and not give up? Because when I read the number of hearings you went to and meetings, and it seems like that alone might have been a full-time job. And, were you working then, going to school? Like what was there anything about that court specifically that encouraged you to keep moving along?
I just, the tremendous amount of support and that they gave me and making me feel like I was worth, coming around me and supporting me, was just enough. And the fact that I turned it around, like, I don't have to do these things, I get to do these things kind of attitude. And, I just was willing to do whatever it took. And I only worked part-time, just enough to pay my rent. At my sober living. I did volunteer hours too for the company to pay my rent. It really was a lot of hard work, but I was just like, I put all this energy into my addiction for so many years. I'm gonna put twice that into my recovery, so I did.
Thank you.
Mm. I'm just curious, well, any other questions from other folks? We're gonna probably take another 5 minutes here, Kyle, of being able to hear from you and be able to ask you questions. So for those of you out there listening, just any questions, thoughts? Just really moving to hear your story, Kyle, and how much of your own inner resources in terms of what you just described was really powerful to me that you get to, and how much support came around you to make you feel worth doing this. So just really, really means a lot, and appreciate the effort to be here and share your story.
Thank you.
And I think maybe while people are kind of pondering, I'll just ask you, Kyle, and like in closing, thinking of the folks that are here on the call and the community really wanting to make a difference and make meaningful change in ICWA and all things related to it. Like, what would you invite this community to think about, to do, to learn?
Just to search out more the consultants and just chatting with them and getting them involved like we are now. I think I've never seen that before, and I know it's very beneficial for both sides. Just to learn what we went through, what worked for us, what didn't work, and just being more supportive of,
Yeah, more supportive of families and children, or
both families and the children, and connecting to the culture. Like with me and my family, and we have a huge family, and grandma took care of kids, cousins, so we became brothers and sisters, and just a big family. We were not cousins, we were brothers and sisters. And so having that, connection, like I said, with the video chats, that keeps them connected to feeling like they're connected to their family, their community, their culture. Maybe, and they had like the visiting services that they provide with the families, and they would have them bring them to the big birthday parties, because our family celebrates everybody's birthday every month, and so having that, they would bring them to the family functions. And so that was amazing. That's a great way to keep them connected, and like taking them to the powwows and different things in the community for the children.
Yeah, so maintaining the connection is just sounding so central, so central.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kyle. I'm sure everyone has been touched by your story, and really appreciate you being here again with us. And Julie, I don't know if you have any closing things that you'd like to say to Kyle, or anyone else here. Sheldon, did you want to say?
Thank you, Kyle, for talking with us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Your story is inspiring. It's not,
Thank you.
I mean, it's not a story, it's your life, but it is
Yes.
inspiring.
Thank you very much.
Just pausing here in case anyone wanted to say, come off mute and say anything personally. Okay. Well, we are, this time always flies by. We're down to our last, 15 minutes with each other here. And we wanted to make sure that we get set up for our next meeting, just kind of building on what Kyle shared with us and what we've learned through talking with each other, to be able to continue clarifying and what we want to be working on together. So our next meeting is a ways out. We're doing this every other month. I think that's also something to keep in mind in our conversations together is how's this frequency? But for now, we're looking at Thursday, April 18th from 9 to 10:30. And would love to have you join our design team. And what the design team does is just a one-time commitment. You're not signing up for life, but just to come in and talk about this last meeting and what worked and what didn't, to identify the purpose and desired outcomes for the next meeting. What do we want to do together? Help us draft a high-level agenda, and then help me think through, especially how to structure these conversations and activities for the most collaboration and conversation and learning. So we're the COP design team will meet for an hour on Thursday, March 14th. The first step, I guess, is checking your availability. If you are able to join us. And so you can either come off mute and let us know you'd like to join us. You can drop your name in chat if you'd like to join us. I don't know if anyone from I want to thank I forgot to thank the last design team. So Georgette, Boggio, Carrera Pretty Paint, Kelly Sather, Michaela Weaselboy, and then Allison Dunn signed up but wasn't able to make it. So thank you. You all contributed to the shape of this meeting and what we did here. So, but any of you want to talk about your experience on the design team?
I can be there again. And if anybody's interested, it's pretty easy, but it gave me better clarification on what our purpose is. And I want to join again because I think that moving forward, we can kind of continue the conversation in the right direction.
Okay,
Great,
great.
thanks, Michaela. And I see April in chat. Thank you.
Five would be a great number.
5 would be a great number. I agree. Thanks, Eric. That was lovely.
Who else?
Heather, thank you. And
Heather
Sheldon.
Webster? Oh, okay. Great.
Heather Webster and Sheldon.
Oh, great.
Thanks. That got us to 5. Lovely. Okay. If you were just about to say you were going to do it, we can catch you next time, or, the more the merrier too.
Right.
Yeah. And then let's see, Heidi, you just direct messaged me a message for Kyle. So make sure that Kyle sees what you shared.
I
It
did.
was
You're
very
faster than
sweet.
my thumbs. Sorry.
Yep. Okay. Okay, I don't know. I just asked folks any closing thoughts here before we kind of come down towards the end. We might be done a little early. So as we have parting thoughts here, we always like to do a little evaluation of how things were in the meeting so we can keep tuning, right? The idea here is as a community to keep shaping this. So if this isn't really for me to shape, I'm just here to help you all shape it the way you want to shape it. So if you can drop in chat on a scale of 1 to 5, to what degree was this meeting worth your time? And 1 would be not at all, and 5 would be very. Yes, and if you don't want to say, because I know in Zoom there's not anonymity because your name's right there, I will take absolutely no offense to 1. I don't think anybody would, I hope, because we're just learning as we go here on forming the community. And at our next meeting, we've been doing this every time, and so I can show you what the trends are. It's always good to be grounded in some data together. If you have any even better ifs, like this meeting would be even better if we had more time to talk in small groups. So please feel free to drop any quick suggestions that you have in the chat. And I know Julie is always open to feedback. She's kind of our main point of contact for this. So please feel free to send her your thoughts, ideas, suggestions, complaints. It's all welcome. So last call here as we kind of come to the end. Feel free to come off mute if you want to share an insight, an idea, or an appreciation about today, or otherwise to drop it in chat. Just helps us know kind of what did this time, and also helps you, like what did happen today? What is an insight, or what was something meaningful that happened in this 90 minutes, since there's no shortage of places we could all spend our time just connecting in. Take down the slides so we can all see each other. Any closing thoughts? There's this saying, let the silence do the heavy lifting. So I'll just stare at y'all for a couple minutes.
I briefly spoke earlier about the ICWA conferences, but I was going to share one of my favorite experiences that I've had in working with tribes. I'm sure a lot of you know Jackie Tang. So she, back in the day, she was supervisor for the BIA with Northern Cheyenne, and ultimately became the director of Tribal Social Services before she retired. But we had put together what we referred to as a cultural exchange, and all the credit goes to Jackie, absolutely. But she invited all of the staff from Child Family Services for the Eastern region down to Lame Deer, and on day one we went down. I think we started like at noon or something like that, and no, actually we started early in the morning. And so she had brought in a number of people from the community to just talk about the community and the tribe and the customs and the history. And we spent all day with the tribe sharing with the states, and just a real dialogue between sharing meals. And then even in the evening, Jackie had put together entertainment. So I think that there were some youth from the community that came and joined us. Jackie put together I don't know who actually prepared it, but it's just an incredible traditional meal. And we had youth in the community that came and provided entertainment. And then we spent the night, I guess that was in Colstrip, but and then we went back to Lame Deer the next day. But another part of it is that then the social workers from Child and Family Services were invited to, at a later date, we were actually partnered with Tribal Social Service worker was partnered with a state CPS worker, and the state CPS worker went down and actually shadowed the Tribal Social Service worker for a day. And then the tribal worker was invited to do the same thing and shadow the state CPS worker at in their community. It was an incredible experience, and something that's really stuck with me for a long time.
Thanks, Eric. An idea to ponder. Hey, everybody. Well, take silence as, I don't know what, just as silence, and some kind of conclusion here. Just Kyle, thank you again, if you're still on the call, for being here with us today, and for all of you for being here, for being in formation together as we figure things out. And we look forward to seeing you in April. And thank you to Michaela, April, Eric, Heather, and Sheldon for a design team. You'll see an email come from Julie. And yeah, I think we can look at this, 7 minutes, go wild with 7 minutes back in your calendar. So we'll hang here until 9:30 in case you want to hang on for any reason, but we can consider it closed, I think. Do you think, Julie?
Yes.
Great.